Hi, this is Kim with Mama's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Monday. We're going to do a project recipe today for a collection that came out a while back. This is coming from 2018. And so if you've been around the new Creative Memories company since its inception, then you may have this collection. If you're new to Creative Memories, then you probably don't, but that's okay. The beauty of project recipes is you can use them with any collection that you have. So, so pull out a fall collection that you like or fall papers that you like and see what you can put together. Today's collection we're going to work on is called Pumpkin Spice. And though it does kind of lean towards Halloween, some of the papers have bats and things like that that are very subtle. I've chosen papers that are actually more just fall. So that's why we're doing it in November. And I thought it would be fun. Let's check out my workspace and get started. All right, so this is my workspace for today. And if you have pumpkin spice, I hope you've been able to pull that out and use it today. It really is a cute collection. I love the way the colors all work together so well, and the printed sheets with the designs are just really, really cute in this collection. I really like it. It's very bright and very just a fun fall collection. Not I mean, you can see my fingernails. Those are a little bit more fall-ish, but this is a fun fall. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got. So I am using the pumpkin spice papers because I do have a few of them left. I think I must have had 2 packages of this or something, because fortunately I had quite a few to choose from, which was nice. But I don't have any embellishments. I don't know if I didn't get the stickers or something, or I don't know. So we're gonna have to be creative when it comes to our embellishments for this one. And I have a couple of ideas, so we'll just, something's going on upstairs, I don't know what. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. This is what the project recipe looks like, and you'll notice this one is a little bit different than our typical one. Typically, I can usually do what I prefer and make both of my base pages match, and that makes my heart happy to have both base pages match. Some people are good with both of them being different, and often the Creative Memories designers design the project recipes with 2 different base pages, which is totally fine, and they do complement each other, so it works. But this time I had to go with the way that they designed this, and I'll show you why in just a second. But you'll see I have these 2 brown plaid pieces out. One is a base page, the other one we're going to punch and cut. And this page right here with all the pumpkins and gourds and things on it is also going to be a base page. So you can see how the brown paper that we are going to punch and cut that sits right here goes right on top of this printed piece. And if I had used the brown, then it wouldn't show. I would have had to punch a different color paper, and I don't know. Anyway, so keep in mind, you know, with this particular project recipe, that using 2 different base pages may be the best thing that you could choose. I toyed with different things, but I finally had to succumb and agree that this was probably going to be the best choice. So, in addition to the 2 base pages and the additional brown plaid page that we're going to punch and cut, I also have the red vine page. This is a pumpkin vine with, you can see its blossoms, the pumpkin blossoms, and then this really cute geometrical patterned paper. This has a polka dot with spiders on the back, which would also probably fit in just fine for a fall page rather than a Halloween page. It would be perfect for a Halloween page. Would probably be okay for a fall page as well, but I'm going to use this side instead. because I just like the way it pulls the lighter colors out of this. The green pulls the green and this pulls the lighter orange. So that's what I decided to do. Anyway, you're also going to need a punch for this. You can see how we've got this punch coming down here, and I'm trying to remember if I don't have the name of this. I think it was called the Harvest Vine, but I can't remember for sure. So if you know what this punch is for sure, if I remembered it correctly, would you let me know in the comments? That would be so great. They also used a border maker cartridge. You can see this punched design right here is different. This is the Garland punch that came out as a border maker. So if you have this one, that's great. You could use this. If not, then you could come up with a different one that maybe has a little bit of a swag to it to go along this edge. Also, if you don't have the pumpkin vine punch, or I don't think they called it pumpkin vine. I think pumpkin vine is the new one. This one right here that just came out this year, which you probably could use this one. You probably could use this one from a couple years ago with the pumpkins and the vines that connect them. This one was called, oh gosh, I'm getting all confused. This one is called Pumpkin Vine. You could use that one. This one is called Pumpkin Patch. You could use. I also pulled out the Sunflower Vine Punch, and you could use this one in place of anything pumpkin if you are not really, a pumpkin fan. So any of those would probably work just fine. And if you have this one that just came out this year, then I think it would be very cute. In fact, I'm thinking that maybe I might just go ahead. No, you know what? This one, yes, you could use it, but keep in mind, this is not a chain punch. And you need one that's going to separate. So if you use this one, you can, but you'll have to come back in here and trim it off. And so that would be a little fussy cutting, but you could still do that. You could still use that one. The other ones are chain punches, so they're going to separate and be just fine. So I am going to go ahead, I think, and just use this older one. And honestly, I don't remember what it was called because obviously I've been trying to rename it Everything Under the Sun, and it's not true because that's the name of a different punch. So again, if you remember what that is, if you would help me out and put it in the comments for us, that would be lovely. I've tried to wise up and write the names of each of the punches on the punches so that I don't get in this situation too often. And as you can see, all three of my other punches that I shared with you today have the names written on them. But this one is old enough that I wasn't doing that back then, so who knows what it was called. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and move these two. These are going to be our base sheets. I'm going to move those to the side so that we are not worried about them. And I'm going to go ahead and shift this over to my cutting guide for the time being so that we can go ahead and get started. I am going to also remove my little flags that remind me which page was meant for which piece, so that I don't accidentally cut those. All right, grabbing my trimmer, let's go ahead and I'm gonna start with this designer paper number 2 because it only requires the trimmer and the other two need to be punched. So we're going to just go ahead and cut this one very quickly. This one requires a 3.5 by 12 inch piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and just cut that one first. So 3.5 inches on the left-hand side. I'm just gonna cut that one off. Then we're gonna cut a 2-inch piece, so 2 by 12. So 2 inches. And then we need a 4.5 inch piece. So we're gonna go over here to 4.5. This is extra, so just set it aside. You're not going to need it. Then we're going to turn this and we're going to cut a 6.5 inch piece, which means I'm going to have to get my arm brought out because I don't have that one marked on my quick little plastic flap at the top. So 6.5 by 4.5, that's going to be a mat for a photo. I'm just going to set that up here in the front. Get it a little bit out of the way. Then I need one more piece that's 4 by 2.5. So I'm going to go ahead and, since my paper is already this direction, I'm going to go ahead and cut that at 2.5. That piece is extra. Set it over there. And then I'm going to turn this back around horizontally, and we'll cut it at 4 inches so that it is the right size. And that little piece can just go in the trash. Okay, so this piece is going to go over here, and then I'm going to set my trimmer aside for just a second, and we're going to go ahead and punch these two pieces of paper. So designer paper number 1, which is my orange sheet, is we're going to punch this edge, and then we will trim it. Oh no, we won't need to trim it because it's a chain punch. So we're just going to go ahead and punch this edge and this edge, one from each of these pages. And if you've never seen the way the Creative Memories punches work, let me just briefly explain. On the front are 2 marks, and these marks I actually had to use a pen and put onto my punch because when they first started making these, they did not include these marks on the outside where you could easily see them. If you can look inside here, you can see they're marked inside the little trough area where the paper goes. But we didn't start adding the marks to the outside of the punch until a little bit later than this one was made. So so I put them on myself. It works. So I just used a Sharpie marker, a really thin one, and added those marks to the outside so they're easier to see. So when you load your paper, you can feed it from left to right or from right to left. It doesn't really matter which way you go. The only thing that would matter is if you were using a paper that was directional, and then you would need to be aware of which direction you are cutting your border from. But I'm going to line up the edge of my paper with that mark that's right here on the front of my punch, and I'm going to punch it down. Then I'm going to just slide it through, and I'm going to slide it until my design matches the blue field on the wing right here. And then punch again and slide until it matches the blue field. And just keep doing that all the way across. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the brown paper. And I can speed that up just so that you don't have to watch me do all of that. All right, so I did end up with these 2 little tiny pieces that I have to just sort of pinch off, but there are our 2 punched pieces. I'm going to get rid of my confetti. And then I'm going to grab my trimmer so we can finish cutting the pieces for these 2 sheets. All right, so the peach colored sheet is designer paper number 1. which is represented by the green field here. So we punched piece A. Now we're going to cut pieces B, C, and D. We need 2 pieces that are 3 inches by 12 inches. So just check and make sure that your paper is in here correctly if you're putting the paper back because you're putting the paper into the trimmer for the first time. Sometimes when we punch off an edge and it's only just one little edge, then it's a little bit hard to tell which side of our paper is the long side. So just double check and make sure that this paper is going beyond 11 inches. As long as it goes beyond 11 inches, you know that that's the right, you have the short side that you're cutting from, and that's correct, okay? Because we want a piece that is 3 inches this way and 12 inches this way. And if you have your paper cocked the other direction, then you will get a shorter piece and be unhappy. We don't want you to be unhappy. Okay, so 2 pieces that are 3 by 12. And then we need our last piece to be 4.5 by 6.5. So I'm just gonna double check, make sure this is 4.5. It's just a hair over 4.5, and since this is a mat, I'm not gonna stress about that little itty bitty, it's not even a 1/16 of an inch that it's over, so I'm not gonna worry about that. But we do need to cut this at 6.5 again, so I'm gonna move my arm out and go ahead and trim that up. So there's another mat for us. And then this piece is extra, so I'm gonna set that to the side. And I'm gonna grab my brown paper. Once again, make sure that you have it long ways this way, so it should be beyond the 11-inch mark, so you know this is the 12-inch long side. And then we are going to cut this at 6 inches. So I'm gonna come out here to my magic little mark, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this at 6 inches. This piece is extra, so just set it to the side. Then we're going to turn this, and we need to cut it at 9 inches. So of course I need my arm put back out because I don't have marks out that far. All right, so we have got 9 inches, and then this piece is extra, so it goes over there. And this piece comes over here. Now at this point, we are done with our trimmer. So I'm gonna set that over there. We need to decide what design we're going to punch into the end of this. You'll recall from looking at the sample that they gave that this end is punched so that you can see the, let me see, which piece is that? It's the peach, which is the green. So I'm going to be seeing green through the brown. So I need to decide, do I want to use my Garland punch or do I want to use something different? Let me see if I have anything else that might be a possibility, that might be a little newer, and more of you will have it in your collection. Let's see. Okay, well, I don't really see anything else that would create the same type of effect. I'm hoping that maybe Home Office will design a new swag, something similar to this, but different enough, so that we have more than one of this type of punch. Because this is not, you can see this is not a chain punch. This simply punches the design out on the paper, which is not something that we have a lot of. So I would really like to have either a chain punch or or something like this with another sort of swag on it. I think it would be useful. But since we don't have it, I think we will just go ahead and use this one. If you decide to use a different one, or if you have a different one that you want to try, if you will let me know how it works, so that other people will know, which ones might be a good idea, that would be helpful. I just don't see any that are going to create a similar effect, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this one so you can see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to take my brown paper, which you'll notice has bats on the back. So if you are creating this for a Halloween type of layout, then by all means use the bats. They're really cute. But because I'm not, I'm just going to leave the plaid side up. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to center this. No, I'm not going to center it. Sometimes it's a good idea to center. This time it's not going to be, and let me show you why. Because this page, or this piece, is 6 inches wide. Each of these Border Maker cartridges is 2 inches wide. So with a 6-inch piece of paper, I'm going to be punching it 3 times. So I want to have 3 even swags on the edge of my paper. If you wanted to have 2 swags in the center and a half of a swag on each side, then what you would do is keep your guide out. Your guide has these marks on it right here. Those marks can be very handy in helping you get your paper where you want it. And you would just adjust your paper and start it from the first mark up from either end. Put the edge of your paper there in your guide, and then you will have that effect. You'll have 2 swags in the middle and a half on each side, rather than 3 whole ones in the center. So it depends on which effect you want to go with. I'm going to go with the one they have in the sample. Okay. So let me get all these little pieces off my table. Here we go. Then that one is good to go, and I believe we are ready to assemble. So let's set this over here and get it out of the way, and grab my base pages from up here. I'm just going to grab the pumpkin one, the one with all the squash all over it first. That's going to be the one that has most of what we need to assemble put on it. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we're going to grab piece E. Piece E is the 3.5 by 12 inch piece that has the vine all over it. And now, according to our instructions, it says to place piece F, which is the 2-inch piece, on top of it. One of them is obviously flipped to the other side. So this is what the other side of my piece, my green piece, looks like. I can either use the vine showing on the bottom piece and this piece showing on top, or we can flip it over and do the more tone-on-tone piece on the bottom and the vine on top. And I think I like the vine on top, so I think I'm going to go with that. So we are going to, I'm going to grab my adhesive. We're going to just put these 2 pieces together first. So I'm going to put my permanent adhesive And we call it permanent because eventually it becomes permanent. If you lift it up right away because you've set it down, sometimes you can pop it right off and it doesn't leave any kind of a mark. It is not, it's not as easily repositionable as repositionable adhesive is, if that makes sense. But you can sometimes reposition it if you need to. I have done it. You just have to be very careful because sometimes it does grab and wants to rip your paper, and that's no fun, right? Okay, so we've got this. We're going to work with our punched pieces here for a second. I'm going to just scoot this to the side, and we are going to take this orange piece and it's going to go on top, shadowed by the brown. Okay, so in order to do that without getting adhesive everywhere, we're going to use our repositionable adhesive, and I'm going to put that all the way down. I wouldn't always recommend putting it all the way down something, but because we're trying to keep this stuck together, I'm going to put it all the way down, virtually the center of this punched piece. And then when I put these together, I'm going to offset them by about maybe 1/8 of an inch. Maybe not quite 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to carefully set every couple inches down, because when you're dealing with something that is delicate like this particular punched piece becomes, it can bend and turn on you, and you don't want it to do that. Okay, and now I'm just going to go back down the back with more adhesive, and we are going to place this right along this left hand portion of the layout. I'm putting the shadow towards the left, and I'm going to add this so that this centermost part that is the vine is going as close to the center mark on where my edge of my paper is. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just lining that up as best I can with the center so that I can't see the seam where the edge of that paper goes. I hope that makes sense. Then I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive to this piece. And this piece is going to go about 1 inch from the edge. So if you don't want to eyeball that and you want it to be super precise, I would recommend you line up your paper on a grid. See how I have a grid on the mat that I'm using? So I've lined up my paper on the grid, and that way I can put this corner at 1 inch and put the other corner at 1 inch and make sure that it is straight. And it goes down just that easy, right? No stress required. Okay, now we're going to take this piece, and this piece is going to go this way. Okay, so we're going to add just a little bit of repositionable adhesive across the top where the punched area is, and then I'm going to add some more permanent adhesive around the edge that's not punched. My adhesive grabbed and tore off more than I meant for it to. There we go. Okay, this piece is going to go directly in the middle. So if you are wanting to be super precise, you can go ahead and line your paper up on your grid again. And then it's fairly easy to find the middle, which is right here. And this, we know this is 6 inches, so we're going to go 3 inches on either side, line up that straight edge with the outside edge, and go ahead and just put it down. Just like that. Nice. All right, so now this is done for the time being, and we're going to do a little bit on the right hand side. We'll come back to this piece, or the left hand side, in just a second. So I'm just going to set that up there. These two 3-inch pieces that are orange are going to go across the top and the bottom of this side. This is what gives it the effect of that brown stripe going all the way across. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add this. I'm going to get that little, I have a friend who spent a lot of time in Asian countries, and I think she would call that little piece a gongxing, I think, if I'm saying that right. I may not be saying that right, so don't quote me. Unless you've been there, maybe you could confirm that in the comments and tell me if I'm crazy or not. But yeah, she comes up with some really interesting words she shares with me, because I have not spent any time in that part of the world. Her husband was in the her father was in the military, so she grew up in a lot of different parts of Asia and learned many different words for things. It's fascinating to me. All right, so we've got this, and I'm going to grab our other piece, our other side of our layout, and then we're going to talk about some mats. So here's how this layout goes together. You can see how that brown stripe goes all the way across, which is kind of different and cool. We've got this piece that we cut, we've got 2 mats that we cut. So we're going to take the orange, because we have a lot of orange on this side. This orange is going to be a mat that goes on this side, and this green is going to be a mat that goes on this side. Now you can, the way they have it shown on here, they're using the more, what I use, the more tone on tone as the mat on this side of the paper, or on this side of the layout. You can do that, or you can, you know, flip it over, whatever you want. It's going to match one of these 2 pieces of paper right here. So whichever one you like better, and I like the vines better, so I think I'm going to stick with the vines. And then this piece is going to go up here. Let me pull out a couple of photo placement mats so you can kind of see how this layout comes together. Let me find them here. I think I pulled them out to use them for something, and they did not get put back. Surprise! Oh, here they are. They're up here. Okay, so we have a 4x6 photo that's going to go here. We have this mat that goes even with it, and this mat that goes above it. Then we have another, what I've learned is supposed to be a 6x4. I always thought 4x6, 6x4, it's the same thing. And actually, it probably is the same thing. But to be correct, this is a 6x4 because you go long ways and then you go horizontally and then vertically. And this is a 4x6. And then over here on this side, you would have 2 6x4s, but unfortunately I only have the ones that say 4x6. You get the drift, right? So we're gonna just do like this, and you would have a matted 4x6 And it looks like they're all at the same level. They've got them all the mats are at the same level, all the photos are at the same level. Okay, so just like that. So then you would have another one of our 4x6s matted in this green photo right here. Okay, does that help you visualize it a little bit better? The green that's up here on top, this one right here, this mat, they use as a title box, which you could use that as a title box. You could, instead of using the vine side, you could flip it over to this side and use it as a journal box and just write in there. I don't think I would write on the vine side because there's a little too much going on there. And as far as embellishments go, now you can see they use these cute little witch feet and legs down here, and bats, and a happy Halloween up in the corner, because this is it was a Halloween fall collection. I pulled out these layered embellishments that were something that came out this past fall. So if you have any of these, you might want to consider using them. Probably not the apples because they don't really match the color scheme of what we're doing. And honestly, I don't know if it matters too much. The orange in the pumpkins is a little bit darker than the orange in the designer paper. So I'm not sure I would want to use these either, but the sunflowers match beautifully and really bring out the shades of orange that are in this layout. So I think I would probably be inclined to use these. If you don't have these, what you could do is, if you have the sunflower punch, you could punch some of these and just trim around the flowers and trim around this one right here, make it maybe brown and stick that in the center. That would make a really cute sunflower, I think. And you could use those. Or maybe you have another punch that would work well for embellishing on this. If you have something else you think would work well, would you put it in the comments so we can all learn from and benefit from that? That would be awesome, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and just sort of highlight this green space over here with a few flowers, and then we'll decide how else we want to proceed. I think maybe we'll just kind of put those together sort of like that. I don't want them to go too much into the orange because you can see they match so well that they sort of start to disappear, which is not what I want. So I'm going to do like that. And maybe we'll take one of these that's on a banner. Or maybe a couple of them. I always feel like I bend them all up when I try to get them out of this plastic. That's my own folly, I guess. Okay, so then we could take these and we could make a little, kind of a little banner that goes across here. And I can use my pens, get my pens out, and make that be a cute little swag. We can put a couple more of these together. I was just thinking I probably ought to add a third one up here. So we'll put one in this corner and two down in this corner, and then we can journal or put a title right there. And then down here we can add a couple of these guys. We could even add them kind of I don't know, I'm still kind of not happy about the fact that that blends so well that you can't really even see it. So maybe what we ought to do is move it up here a little bit and put it more like right here in the center. And then that way we notice it a little bit better. I'm trying to think how we could do the same thing with these guys over here on this side, but I think once I have those lines drawn in, it will be helpful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and adhere some of this down, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just come in here with you could use a black pen, or you could use a brown pen, whichever one you have handy. We have the micro tip pens, which are good for this, but you might want a little bit of a thicker line. I don't have, I thought I had a brown one that was a little bit thicker, but maybe I have that somewhere in a different space. Let me just check up here. Hold on one second. Aha, there's my brown pen. Okay, so I think I would be more inclined to use the brown because it works with the tones of the other colors I've got going on in my layout. So maybe one of these two instead of my black one. And this one is a double, all of our pens, journaling pens, are double-sided, so you get a really fat side, which is great for making titles and dots and things like that, and you get a skinny side, which is much better for journaling. I don't know if you can see that. That's probably better. So this is going to make a thicker line than your fine micro-tipped pen will, which is going to make a very, very fine line. This is great for journaling. I also journal using the fine end of this one. Today I think I'm going to use the fine end of this one just because I think it will show up a little bit better. And all I'm going to do is just go in and add some little details. Okay, so I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to just come in here with my pen and connect these little pieces as if they were a part of a banner. So I'm just going to make a circle right here and a circle right here, as if those were grommets, kind of connecting that to a banner. And then I'm going to create a line that's going to just kind of squiggle and go off the page. And here I'm going to just create a very subtle little dot on the under flower, the shadow flower part of the flower. Okay, so that I can connect these two with the banner. And then here, this one's going to need to be connected like so. And then this side will need to be connected. So dots, and we'll come off and we'll do a few little curly cues and just have it kind of end at the end of the paper right here. Okay, then you can come back in and you can do some just little tiny dots near the loop-de-loops. And I'm only going to add it in on one side or the other, but just to add just a little bit of an extra panache, as my dad would say. I think my dad used to say that. Somebody I knew used to say that. Maybe not my dad. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, okay, then we're going to come over here. There's not much we can do for these center ones, only because they're on such a dark paper. I don't think even if we added some dots that it would actually be able to be seen. So I'm not going to really worry about that too much. We could go ahead and add some dots to this and some curly cues to this and just make them kind of go off in different directions. And that just, I mean, think about floral arrangements that you've seen before and different little bits and bobs that sometimes they have. And that's what this is reminiscent of. Kind of like so. Okay, maybe you don't need to do quite so many. I don't know. I think I'm getting a little bit carried away. But just a couple. And that kind of just adds to your design. I don't do enough pen work. I feel like I should do more, because it can be really fun. And you could even add a little bit more to your swag over here if you wanted to, but I think I'm going to leave it there for today. Let me know what you think about this project recipe, and if you remember the name of this punch and this punch, because someone may be looking for it and they may need to know that. I'm sorry I can't give it to you. Because I don't know what they are. But this has been fun, and I'm excited to use this for some fall photos. I think it'll be really, really nice. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. We'll see you next on Wednesday. Take care.